I'm Wright, and you're listening to the weekly Dartscast, episode number 180.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the weekly Dartscast. I'm Alex Moss, and joining me as always, Darts statistician Burton, DeWitt. How you doing?
It's the most wonderful time of the year. How could I be doing? I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Alex?
I'm doing very good too. Yes, it is an exciting time of year. Of course, the PDC World Championship just around the corner. This is our preview show for the tournament. It's a special episode for that reason. Also because it's our 180th episode, a big landmark in the world of darts. Our first maximum. We're 3 darts into the 9 darter now. What's your best 180 though? That's what I want to know. What's the one that stands out for you?
I have 2 of them. I had one. I'm going to say it was one of the first 10 I had. But they were all on a pinpoint. The grouping was just so fantastic. I could have fit another 180 in there. Granted, it would have taken me about a week to get that other 180 in there, but there was the room. And then the other was the first time I ever had 2 180s in the same day, and they were about 15 minutes apart, if even that. I hit through a 180, and I just knew I was playing well, and I just kept throwing, and 15 minutes later I hit another one. So those would have to be the 2 that I throw out there. Although you forgot to ask me what's my favorite way to score 180. Yeah, we'll leave that for another time. What's your favorite 180?
Not got as much prowess as that, but I usually only get maybe 1 or 2 a year. I suppose really the ones that stick out for me is whenever I've hit them in our Stowmarket Darts League, when we're playing a team, when we're playing, they're ones that stick out really when you're hitting them in an actual game, which means something. So they're good. One that nearly happened is probably one that I remember the most is I was in a pub in Sofia one afternoon, used the set of darts from behind the bar. They're all different darts, different barrels, different flights and everything. 2 treble 20s, the third one just falling short. That would have been the best one for me. So the one I remember the most is the one that didn't even happen. So that shows you how good I am. But let's get into the show then. And we've got 3 guests coming on, all that are going to be playing in the opening night of the World Championship at Ali Pali next week. You can hear from Steve Beaton, Keane Barry and Amit Gilitwala all coming up on the show. But we always kick off our PDC World Championship preview show with this question. How excited are you for the start of Dartsmas?
And the answer is always the same, but this year even more so, and for completely different reasons, because this hasn't been a great year for almost anyone. It's been just an awful year around the world, and one of the few saving graces this year has been darts. And we've talked about it on the show, especially the last few months, Grand Slam being the pinnacle, but just all of the breakout seasons, all of the high quality that we've seen, especially since the restart in July, has been one of the few things that's given us a little respite from what has been a terrible year for the entire planet. As a result, I'm even more excited than normal because this is, 3 weeks of distraction. And as cases climb everywhere, especially in the U.S. now, but Europe's had now 4 months of just really bad numbers, seeing it as well in the rest of the Americas and Africa, even some increase in case numbers in East Asia now, which has had it under control for a long time. This event at least gives us something for an extended period of time to distract us, to excite us, to entertain us, and we need that right now. So the answer is always very excited for the start of Dartsmas, but this year for completely different reasons. I'm ready for it to start. I want it to start. I don't want it to ever end. It will end a little bit later than normal, go to all the way to January 3rd, but maybe that's a good thing because 2021 can't be worse than 2020, and to get 3 days of darts to start it off as opposed to just one evening is a blessing that I'm looking forward to.
3 weeks of distraction. I like that as a tag for the tournament. A lot better than what the Daily Mail came up with last week, which we told you on the show. But yeah, just echoing what you said there, 2020 has been a difficult year for a lot of people, but the darts has been something, especially the PDC anyway, that's kept a lot of people going, and especially the last 4 or 5 weeks. Okay, we haven't had much darts in the last week or so. The players have got a well-deserved break, and I think a lot of them needed it. But the previous 4 or 5 weeks that we had, there was some brilliant stuff that we saw, and we keep talking about the Grand Slam, but it just was a really great tournament. And if we get a tournament half as good as the Grand Slam for this World Championship, then we are in for a treat over the next 3 weeks. And it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out, because 2020 has been a year that we won't forget in darts. We've had, go right back to the beginning, Peter Wright winning the World Championship for the first time, and then we've had more new winners come to the fore since then. Dimitri Vandenberg winning the World Match Play, Glenn Durant the Premier League, Jose de Sousa the Grand Slam. That's 3 big events there all won by players that had never previously won a PDC televised title. So it kind of tells you that there's more players now capable of winning these big events than there was ever before. And as a darts fan, as people that follow this sport, if they just follow it for the World Championship or they follow it all year round like we do and a lot of our listeners do, it's going to make for an exciting tournament. And of course, Michael van Gerwen will go in as the favourite. He'll go into it with more form than he's had in recent times, given that he's just won that Players' Championship finals, the last event before we get into Ali Pali. It sets itself up really nicely, and I think just can't really wait for it to get going. We're 7 days away when we're talking. Let's get it on.
One other thing that always seems to be the case at this year, it's not just asking that question, but it's Michael van Gerwen being the favorite heading into the World Championships. Not as low odds as he's been in previous years. I think 5-2 is last I saw. In most years, he was something like 5-2 on. But has he found form at the right time heading into Worlds to justify that pre-tournament favorite?
We opened up the show last week talking about this. Is Michael van Gerwen back? He did just win that Players' Championship finals, his first TV title since the UK Open, so ending an 8-month drought without winning something on the TV. And we saw in the Grand Slam, he got to the quarterfinals, he blew aside Gary Anderson in the last 16, then in that brilliant game against Simon Whitlock, missing the match starts, losing in the decider. And we felt going into that weekend, a couple of weekends ago now, for the Players' Championship finals, that out of all the players in the field there, he was the one that needed to win a title the most to back up his credentials going into this World Championship. And yeah, as you say, 5-2 favourite going into it. Just looking back at the last couple of years, 5-4, 11-8, he was a lot shorter price. His odds for getting to the final are pretty similar to what they were last year. It was 4-9 last year for him to get to the final, which is of course what he did. This year, his odds on to get to the final. He's 5-6. I see in some places at the moment. Put a tweet out earlier saying we're recording our show later. Who do you fancy to win it? Because I haven't got a clue. John Thompson, one of our listeners for a long time, said this could be the year to back Michael van Gerwen, could be worth backing because his odds are a lot bigger than they were in previous years. And you look at the field of players that we've got assembled for this, how the draws panned out, a little bit like last year. Michael's quarter of the draw on paper did look easier than maybe some of the other quarters of the draw, and he did come through it relatively easily. Okay, he dropped the first set against Jelle Klaasen, but aside from that, didn't have too many troubles getting to that final. So I think he is going to be the man to beat if he does get to the semi-finals. Maybe that is when we're going to see him seriously tested. But I do think there are some quality players in his quarter of the draw, maybe towards the end of that quarter when you get into the last 16 quarterfinals, that could cause him problems. But I think he's going to go into it with a world of confidence and looking to become a full-time world champion.
Yeah, I agree. And as you mentioned, we talked about it last week, and he needed that title. And I still don't think he's back anywhere near his best. But as I said last week, he doesn't have to be the favorite and to deserve to be the favorite, because even him on his A- game is still the best player in the world by some distance. And I think he was on his A- game. I was about to say in Minehead, because the Players' Championship final is usually in Minehead, and a year from now, it almost certainly, hopefully, will be. But in Minehead and Coventry last week, he was on his A- game, and that was enough. He was closer to his A game for the final. You can even say he was on his A game in the final, and it still went to a last leg decider. That shows at least that he is now playing where he needs to, and he deserves to be the bookmaker's favorite. Obviously, he has to go out and prove that and live up to that. And it's not played on paper, it's played on the day. And he could run into someone like Mervyn King, who just plays the match of his life and gets over the line in the World Championship, like Peter Wright did in the World Final last year. So he still has a lot to do in order to justify that confidence that the bookmakers and most of the bettors are likely putting in him. But he's playing like it right now. He's playing like he's the best player in the world. And if he plays like he's the best player in the world and he believes he's the best player in the world, it's going to take one of those performances to beat him. He's in the right place and the right frame of mind heading into Worlds, which we wouldn't have been able to say a month ago. And that's going to pose threats to everyone who comes in his way. And we'll see, and we'll discuss in a few minutes whether we think anyone will stop him.
3 guests to bring you on the show this week, and we're going to get into the first of them. He is a player that is going to be making his record 30th consecutive appearance in a World Championship. It is the former champion of the world, Steve Beaton.
I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the former champion of the world, Steve Beaton. Thanks for the time, Steve. How you doing? I'm fine, thanks.
Now here we are talking a little over a week before you're going to be playing in your 30th consecutive World Championship, covering the BDO and the PDC, a record that you probably know now, but how does that make you feel knowing that you're going to be making history next week?
I don't know really. I mean, I've always all grown up around Phil and that lot, and I know he did 29, so I was hoping to beat his record, but no, I just view it as another year really, and hopefully do well. I got last 16 last year, so I'm just hoping to maybe improve on that. Yeah,
you mentioned the last 16 last year, and looking back at the last 18 months or so since we last had you on around May 2019, it's probably one of your biggest achievements in that time. How pleased were you with how things went last year?
I was happy. I mean, I was a bit fed up about losing to Darius, but I mean, he played well, but I just didn't play well enough to beat him, really. I mean, fair play, he won, but I was a bit disappointed with that, really. I wish I'd gone a couple of steps further, even to the final, I always take one step as it goes, it's all right saying you want to win the tournament, but, you got to take every round as it goes, really. But, I was just slightly disappointed that, I didn't go a bit further, but, who knows this year.
Yeah, you had a great win against James Wade the previous round, losing out, as you mentioned there, to Darius to miss out what would have been a first quarter-final in a PDC World Championship. Was that a little bit disappointing that you got past one of the big seeds in your group and you managed to get a little bit further?
Yeah, really. Like I said, I mean, I wish I played a bit better against Darius, but I've never had very good runs in the PDC World. I think it's probably because it's just a tournament everybody wants to win, maybe just a bit too much pressure on yourself, to overperform sort of thing. But, this year hasn't been that brilliant for me, so, maybe this might be a third round and might play a bit better in this one.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And going into 2020, of course, we didn't know what was to come with the virus and everything that's happened, but you started the season well, 2 quarterfinals on the floor when the lockdown did come. How did you rate your season so far up to that point?
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, I was a bit disappointed really, because I mean, obviously we didn't know COVID was coming, all this and the lockdown and everything, but I wish it had a better start to the year really, because from the end of March we weren't really playing much, and then we did have a couple of groups of Pro Tours put together, about 5 or 6 on the trot, which I found very difficult really. I always find like a Friday, Saturday and a Sunday is long enough on the Pro Tour weekends if you got qualified on the Friday. Even exhibitions, I probably wouldn't do more than 3 on a trot. So I did find a long week a bit of a struggle really. So, I mean, I know we had to have it done because, the only way of doing it, but I did find it a bit of a hard chore really, but, just one of them years really.
Yeah, I was going to come on to mention that. I mean, when we look at players, hardly anyone can really match your longevity in darts, especially competing at the top level. So when the tour did get shut down, how did you find that time initially being stuck at home? Was it strange at first, not heading out the home to play darts?
I mean, I was a bit like everybody. It was great, really, for the first little bit, and then suddenly, you're thinking, you're stuck there. I mean, you have to find things to do. I've done a lot of cycling and things. The gyms are back open now. I swim a lot. So, you've got to keep yourself active. Practicing, you can only do so much practicing. But, I did find it a bit of a struggle. But I think that the main thing this year is with the Europeans. I mean, I was in 12 last year, and this year I was only in 1. I mean, I know they had 4 qualifiers for it, but that really hammered me on the money, because Pro Tour do a rolling order of merit yearly. So I was spending quite a lot of money, and that's why I've suddenly slipped right down there.
The Pro Tours that we had, the Players' Championships, they decided to go with the 5-in-1 block to try and get in as many as they can, and you've obviously seen a lot during your career, but I guess not with all the rules and regulations that we've got in place at the moment due to this virus. So what has it been like playing events again, but going through the tests and having to isolate in the hotels and not being able to move around as much?
Yeah, very difficult really. I mean, fair play to the PDC for getting it all sorted, but I found it very difficult, because I mean, you'd lose a day at the beginning, so it was an extra night there to get your results, then you'd another day, and then you'd play for 5 days on the trot, and then I think the first one we had a qualifier, so it was 6 days on the trot. So it was quite a I wouldn't say hard work, but very monotonous each day. If you got knocked out, you had to wait a whole 24 hours to play again. And I mean, some people found it, more helpful. I mean, I didn't find it at all, really. Like I say, 2 or 3 nights on the trot's long enough for me. I like a bit of a break then. So I was finding it a bit of a struggle, really.
Going into the last event before the cut-off for the World Championship, you knew you were going to be in the field for it. You just didn't quite know whether you'd be a seeded player or go in as one of the Pro Tour qualifiers. Did you have an eye on that going into the Players' Championship finals, or did you just try and focus on the tournament?
Yeah, I sort of knew half and half where I was and that lot. I mean, at the start, we had a qualifier to the Grand Slam. I lost the final to Ricky. Ricky went through. That would have been a bonus if I'd have qualified for that one. But as that week went on, the problem was because I dropped out the 32 rolling order of merit. Suddenly on the float, and you start getting worse draws then. Michael Smith, Ratajski one day, first game on, it's not the easiest first round game, so, I'm going to have to put up with a lot more of that now next year, but, it's the same boat for everybody else, you've got to, play well to keep up there.
Definitely. Well, you're going to be unseeded at Ali Pali for the first time, I think, in 12 years. You've been seeded for a long time. When you were watching the draw last week, were you a little bit frustrated that you'd missed out on the seeds, or are you looking forward to the challenge of going from the start and playing one of those international qualifiers right off the bat?
I think, the way it comes, I've just got to play one extra game, really, at the end of it. If I'd have gone in at 32 spot, I'd have only ended up, having the one spot. So, it's just... swings and roundabouts, really. I'm just glad to be, in the World Championship. At the end of the day, it's one of them tournaments that you always want to qualify for. So, really, really happy that I'm in it. So, just want to make the most of it and see if I can have a good run.
During the Brazilian Diogo Portello, and the schedule's out now, you guys up second on the opening night Tuesday. It's going to be the first night back with the fans in the UK too as well. Are you excited to be involved in the opening night as well?
Oh yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it'd be nice to see the fans back there again. It's been very quiet for the last 9 months, with no fans and that lot. But yeah, it should be good. I'm just hoping that they don't bring another tier in and we lose the fans after that. Because I think on the 16th or something there'll be another review, and I'm just hoping that the fans can continue to watch the tournament all the way through.
Definitely. Well, if you get past Diogo, you're going to be back the following night to play Glen Durant in the second round. Games early on, an opportunity to be one of the first players to get into that last 32, perhaps spend some more time at home during Christmas before coming back if you get through. Is that something that you're looking forward to if you're able to do that?
Oh, that'd be brilliant. Yeah, I'll be over the moon if I can relax for Christmas and no one through till after Christmas. Yeah, that'd be a great week off, and something else to look forward to after Christmas then. So yeah, I've just got to try hard and see how it goes, really. Obviously Diego first, and then obviously Glenn, whose knee's not going to be an easy one either. So they're both tough games. So I've just got to perform or else I'm out. That's it, simple, really. You've got to do the business, or you're going to be not in the next round. So fingers crossed, you never know.
One more before we let you go. We should look ahead really to the next year, 2021. You'll be hoping, of course, to still be involved in the World Championship when the new year comes round. But what's the main thing you're really looking forward to about next year? Things getting back to normal, sort of kind of a year like we're more used to rather than 2020?
Yeah, I think everybody's thinking about the same. Really, everybody wants to get back to normal. I don't think it's going to be as quick as people think it's going to be. I think it's still going to be 6 months, or even it could be just stretched out for a year. It just depends on how things go. But yeah, the sooner it all gets back together and we can, like I say, I'm so used to just play weekends and getting back into the swing of it again. So fingers crossed all these the vaccination goes well, and we can get back to some sort of normality next year. But yeah, I'm glad I'm in it next year. I've got my tour card still, so see how next year goes and give it a good go.
Well, fingers crossed for that. Fingers crossed for you in what is going to be a record-breaking World Championship for you. Hopefully it can be a good run for yourself, and thanks very much for your time.
Oh, pleasure. Thanks for interviewing me.
Support for the weekly Dartscast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code ADONIS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code ADONIS. Your balls will thank you. Now, if you excuse me.
Thanks again to Steve for joining us. Now, 2020 has been the year of new names on the pot. Out of the 15 TV finals that we've seen this year, 12 have been won by a player who had previously never won that tournament before. how likely do we see 2021 starting the same way with this World Championship?
I think there's every chance, and the most likely candidate has to be Gerwyn Price. And he finally got over that set play hurdle twice this year, winning both the Grand Prix and an event we don't normally think of as a set play event, but is a set play event for all intents and purposes in the World Cup with his compatriot Johnny Clayton. Gerwyn Price has won both set play events this year and has every chance to make it a full hat trick at the World Championships. But there's others who you wouldn't want to bet against. Jose de Sousa has been in great form recently, winning the Grand Slam, playing well in the Players' Championship final. Throw in Michael Smith, who's rounding back into form right at the right time of the year, has never won a major, but it seems to be upping his game right when he needs to give himself every chance to not just defend the World Finals money, but go one further this year. So there's quite a few players that we could see, or I could see doing it. Also throw in Nathan Aspinall, who always peaks at this time of year, defending semifinalist money. That said, it's still more likely than not that a former champion will win it. And that's because Michael Van Gerwen and Peter Wright are two of the three players most likely to take home the title. I'd say there's at least a 50% chance that one of those two plus Gerwyn Price win it. Probably even higher than that. So I think it's less likely than 50% that we'll see a new name on that trophy. But it's definitely a possibility, and Gerwyn Price leads that list of contenders.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because you look at the 5 former winners that we've got in the field for this year, the 96-player field, and 2 of those are in the top 2 of the rankings, aren't they? You've got Michael Van Gerwen, the top seed, Peter Wright, the defending champion, the number 2 seed. So when you look at it like that, you're thinking, wow, those 2 have got to be right up there as the leading contenders. But as you say, there's a lot of other players that have come into the reckoning in the last couple of years that will fancy their chances of going all the way. Gerwyn Price is the one that jumps off the page straight away because he is the second favourite and he's won the most titles this year. He's won 3 titles on the TV, all in the space of the last 3 months. So we're not talking about titles that have been won back right at the start of the year. He's won the World Grand Prix, the World Cup, the World Series finals, won on the European Tour earlier on in the year, and he's been mopping up titles on the floor as well. He has become one of the top players in the world, and he will be a contender. And you think back to 12 months ago, going into that World Championship, he'd just won back-to-back Grand Slam titles. One of the big question marks around him was, yeah, but he's never done it at Ali Pali. Well, he answered those critics last year by getting to the semi-finals and fell short to the eventual champion Peter Wright on that occasion. But looking at the previous winners, I mentioned Van Gerwen and Peter Wright, the other 3 actually all in the same section of the draw, all in that second section. You've got Gary Anderson, Rob Cross and Adrian Lewis, and you're probably going to rule all 3 of those out, aren't you? Because Adrian Lewis has got a very tough second round game either against Damon Heta or Danny Baggish, and he's the 21st seed this year. He's been playing in 16 consecutive World Championships now, and this is the lowest seed, the first time he's been out of the top 16 seeds, I believe, since his debut in the tournament. So he's really fallen down a little bit. 125 to 1 he's priced at to win this title. So you're kind of writing him off as a player that can go all the way and win his 3rd world title. Gary Anderson, another one that we've seen the news come out today that he's self-isolating at the moment. He's come into contact with someone that's tested positive for the virus, so his game's been pushed back a few days. So that's not ideal preparation for him going into the tournament, and of course the injuries that he's had recently. And then the other player, Rob Cross, he's got a very tough game against either the newly crowned PDC World Youth Champion Bradley Brooks or the favourite going into that first round tie, Dirk van Dijvenbode, who has been one of the top performers of the new tour card holders. Well, kind of not new tour card holders, but this is his first year with a new tour card. He's done really well. Yeah, like you, I'm kind of leaning towards there being a first time winner, and we'll come on to our predictions a little bit later on, which I will predict a first time winner, but I guess you can't really rule out the top 2 seeds either that have won it before.
And you mentioned there Adrian Lewis, not just 125 to 1 and the 21st seed, but that 125 to 1 odds makes him the 27th favorite for the World Championship, not something you would have thought a few years ago you would ever see. Now, the schedule is out for the tournament up through Christmas. There was as you alluded to, a slight adjustment to the schedule due to Gary Anderson having a close contact with someone who tested positive. But as of right now, no withdrawals. The 96 players that were in the draw are all still in. It'll be 32 left after Christmas, but if Barry Hearn called you up and said you've got a VIP ticket to any one session before Christmas, which one would you go to?
Well, firstly, I'd say thanks very much, Barry. Much appreciated. Good to be back in the VIP enclosure. But yeah, I think there's a few that I'd pick out actually. And just as you say, going off the sessions that we do know the schedule for, I'll kick things off with the opening night. And yes, we are going to hear from 3 of the players that are going to be involved in that opening night. But touch wood, when we're recording this 7 days to go before that first session, when we get up and running on Tuesday, the 15th of December. But it will be the first time that we've had fans back in a darts tournament since the pandemic back in March when it all kicked off like that. So that's going to be good to see. I know it'll be a limited crowd, but just to see fans back in for that and back in for the World Championship will be good. And it's a really good looking lineup, some of those games. Steve Beaton, 30th record World Championship appearance against Diogo Portello. Steve's not had the best years, as you've heard from him earlier. He'll be wanting to get things going again for him. Jeff Smith against Keane Barry, one of the ties of the first round for a lot of people, and you can really see that one going either way. And then, of course, we finish off that first session with Peter Wright trying to start his title defence as the world champion against either Steve West or Amit Gilitwala. So that's an interesting session. Few others that I've got down here as well. I'll give a mention to maybe a couple of sessions going towards the end of this first half of the tournament, if you like, and going really off games that we're not quite sure whether they're going to happen yet because we've still got the first round games to play. But I'll give a mention to Monday 21st, the evening session. We've got potentially Gabrielle Clemens against Nico Kurtz, and I think there's been some rumblings on social media the last couple of days that Nico's planning to go to Q School. We're not sure on the dates on that yet, but he's planning to go to Q School, which would be good because, as we saw last year, he really did light up Ali Pally, and you fancy him to get a tour card if he does go to Q School. So that's a potential game for that session. You could also see Ian White against Kim Hybricks. Could see Krzysztof Ratajski against either Ryan Joyce or Karol Sedlacek, 2 players that have shown some good stuff in recent times. Then you've got Gerwyn Price looking to start his bid for a title against Luke Woodhouse, who put out Michael Smith last year, one of the big seeds, or Jamie Lewis, who, if he wins that first round game, will come into that game with bundles of confidence. And I'll pick out one more that the following night, the 22nd, we could see Danny Noppert against Martin Kleermacher. We could see Dimitri Vandenberg against Luke Humphreys, a battle of 2 recent former World Youth Champions, or even Paul Lim if he comes through that game. And then you've also got the potential that night, Rob Cross against Dirk van Dijvenbode, and Rob will be up against in that game, you feel, of getting that win. So there's a couple of sessions I'll pick out for Barry to invite me to.
Yeah, well, hopefully he has tickets for both of us because I'm going with that Tuesday evening session as well. Obviously, that Rob Cross versus, well, we'll see if Dirk van Dijvenbode gets past the World Youth Champion, but you would think he's likely to do so. That match is the standout tie because we just don't know what to expect from Rob Cross. He's playing better than he was a couple months ago, but he's not playing like the world number 4 or 5 right now. And Dirk van Dijvenbode just made a major final. But that is the standout tie. And what better way to kickstart what is going to be a 2021 for Rob Cross than that match. But then you also have Devin Peterson, who's been one of the players of the year. Dimitri Vandenberg, who's only gone and won a major title this year, having what would be a very difficult first or second round, I should say, tie against either Luke Humphreys or Paul Lim. And then Danny Noppert against Martin Kleermacher, who's had a good first year in the PDC. It's been a quiet first year overall, but a good one. That could be a very difficult potential banana skin for the Dutch number 2. I think that's the standout session of the second round matchups. But I'll throw out one that has 3 of the first round matches and one that you didn't mention because you mentioned most of the ones that I was also looking at. I just lost. There we go. So the one on the Wednesday evening. The Wednesday evening. We have 3 players from the northeast of England. You also have a couple of people from down under. You have the 4-time ladies world champion. You have possibly one of our guests and the former world champion in Steve Beaton. You have the now former German number 1, but still the flag bearer for German darts. And you potentially have the flag bearer for all of South America, really, and Diogo Portello, potentially, if he gets past Steve Beaton. So a lot going on that. And I'm curious to see how those Australian players acquit themselves because that Australian tour just gets better and better. And having 2 players over in the World Championships in Gordon Glenn Mathers and James Bailey with winnable ties, but difficult ties against Max Hopp and Callan Ritz, respectively, I think is a great way to start off that session. That said, Callan Ritz has got to be thinking not just getting past that match, but going deep in this. He had a great tournament in the Players' Championship final, nearly knocking out the world champion in the last 16. This is a big opportunity for him, but he has to get through that first round. And then, of course, Adam Hunt against Lisa Ashton. Glenn Durant is the Premier League champion on that card as well. I think it's a very interesting, potentially 4 really interesting matches that might otherwise get ignored, but I don't think should get ignored.
Some interesting sessions coming up. Let us know what your favourite session you're looking forward to watching to in that first half of the World Championship. And coming up next, then, let's hear from another player that's going to be involved in that opening night at Ali Pali next week. Here's our chat with Keane Barry. I'm pleased to say I'm joined by one of the newest tour card holders for 2021, Keane Barry. How you doing?
Not too bad.
Now, it's 1 week today when we're talking. You're going to be in action on the opening night of the PDC World Championship. How are you feeling just 7 days to go before the biggest tournament in darts gets underway?
Yeah, like me practice is going well, so I'm happy. I'm looking forward to the tournament starting. I'm on the first night, so it'll definitely be interesting. And a tough first game, but I think it's just all sights on the first game to get me head down and hopefully get the win.
We'll come back to the Worlds a bit later, but going back to the start for you in darts, how did you first get introduced to it?
Yeah, my dad used to throw home in the house. I just kind of used to wreck his head when I was younger to just keep practicing with him and throwing and that. So it really started from there. He was 24 when I started, so I was quite young. But no, I just used to just practice all of them, go to different local tournaments with him when I got a bit older, and just kind of progressed from there, really.
What was it about darts that piqued your interest then? Did you notice you were good at it early on, or was it the wanting to improve that you wanted to keep playing to get better?
Yeah, I think I kind of just wanted to do it. My dad was doing it the whole time, and then when I kind of realised when I got a bit older, like, it actually wasn't too bad. So I always wanted to do well, and different competitions, even if it was playing in adult competitions when I was a kid, I still wanted to win games and do well. So I think it was just the hunger for success, maybe. I don't know, but I just used to really just love throwing in general as well, so that kind of helped along with it.
One moment I wanted to talk about as well, 2016, only 14 at the time, you made the final with the WDF Europe Youth Cup boys singles, just losing out to Justin Van Tegouw in the final over in Hungary. What do you remember about that run?
Yeah, that was my first time playing in the Europe Cup, first time qualifying in that, and it was all new to me over there, you know. It was a really good experience to take on, and definitely to get to the final. I remember I met some really good quality players on the way to the final as well, and just in the final, I think I lost 3-1, I think, in sets. But it was a massive experience for me from that to bring on to the next 3 years. I think it was a massive part in me going forward to have that experience of getting to a final, a big youth final. So it really helped along the way.
You made some more big youth finals after that in the next few years, and then we see you start to play on the development tour in the PDC towards the end of 2018. How did you find that first experience of playing on the tour?
Yeah, I remember it was good now. Like, I was really looking forward to when I hit 16 to kind of go and play the full tour and see how I get on. So it was a really enjoyable experience for me, and it was good to be playing with the really good youth players like the Durant and boys playing on the development tour. So it was really good, and I had a good couple of years on it so far. I'm really happy the way that the progression I made in it so far.
Yeah, I mean, we come on to 2019 and you really do announce yourself on the development tour. Your first full weekend, I guess you made a semi-final, quarter-final, semi-final, the first weekend that year. How much did you take away from those couple of days when you beat a lot of top quality players?
Yeah, it was massive now, yeah, because I always thought to myself, look, I think I can do it. Like, against these lads, and I proved myself I could, and then I started to do it on a consistent level, which was really good for me, because maybe I was lacking a small bit of consistency, but I started to get a bit consistent in my game, and then I knew I could be one of the top names in the development tour, so I kept working hard, kept pushing, and I think I've kind of got like this year I've got myself up to be one of the best on the youth tour.
Just touching away from the PDC for a moment, we spoke briefly at the World Masters last year after you won the boys title at the Circus Tavern. How good was it to get that title after coming so close the previous 2 years?
Yeah, it was definitely a relief for me, you know, at the 2 years before that to losses in a final. So to get the win eventually, and it still was a tight game with 4-3 in the end as well. But yeah, it was a massive relief to get over the line there, because I really wanted that one, because since I beat twice in a row, you know, in the final, it was a big relief to win that. I was really happy to get that win.
And last year you ended it by making your debut in the PDC World Championship. You were also there for the JDC World Youth Championship final, which you won. But what was it like going up on the stage against Vincent van der Voort and playing in the biggest event there is?
Yeah, it was amazing. I remember there was a lot of Irish travelled over there. When I was walking on when I was walking past, the Irish lad, and it's my best friend and his family and everyone was there. So it was brilliant. So it was a great experience to go up on stage and play such a quality player like Vincent. It was obviously close to our first round game, but I took the experience from that. I didn't take any negatives. It was all positives from that game, and I'm going to hopefully put it right this year.
Definitely will. As I mentioned at the start, you're going to be on the tour next year. You've got your tour card. You almost got it at the start of this year, though. You went to Q School for the first time, a big run on the final day, just falling short in the final game. How did you reflect coming so close at that time?
Yeah, it was tough to take, but in hindsight, I think it was maybe a blessing. I didn't think I had with the way this year had gone, but again, I took all the positives from that. I think the first 2 days didn't really go my way. I didn't give lads the respect I should have, and I got punished. But the next 2 days, I had 2 good days, and the last day, a really good day. But it just kind of fell short. But there was a lot of positives taken from it, and again, experience, which is the main thing, got from that. So it's to get my card through the development tour is what I actually wanted to do. So it was. So I was happy. Maybe I would have took the card from Q School, but if I didn't have to play Q School, I would. If I could play Challenge Tour without playing Q School, I wouldn't have went to Q School because I wanted to get my card through the development tour or Challenge Tour. Well,
even without that tour card this year, we've still seen a lot of you, and especially during the first lockdown, of course, we had the Modus stream going on. How did you find the break from the in-person tournaments? Did you work on anything on your game, or do you just try and keep yourself ticking over?
Yeah, I just tried to kind of keep myself sharp, kind of keep myself playing. If it wasn't for probably the Modus League, I would have struggled a lot more because, when you have nothing to work towards, it's hard to keep the motivation to practice. So it is. So the Modus League definitely helped me big time to keep me game in check, and I enjoyed it. So I did, because even though it wasn't in person, it's the same for everyone else. So to have that still kind of competitive edge of a game, even if it's online, it was hard to get used to at the start, but it was nice to have and still to be able to play.
I think I'm right in saying as well, you turned 18 in June, so were you able to get much of a celebration in with family and friends during that time with all the restrictions that we had?
Yeah, we had a small bit of get together, just family and that, so it wasn't too bad. It's just still enjoyed. We still enjoyed the night anyway, and it was a good bit of fun. So it didn't kind of let too much things get in the way of that.
You come back on the development tour in September with a bang. You won 2 of the 4 titles to finish second, and as you wanted to do, win that tour card via the development tour. When you knew that you'd done enough to get the card, what was the feeling like?
To be honest, I didn't really know. I got my card until my girlfriend told me. For me, I was just kind of getting my head down, doing as best I can, trying to get the best results, kind of play well. So, but then I think it was in the last event I had it, I think. But I didn't know that, so my girlfriend told me I actually have it then, so I kind of relaxed a little bit more. It was in the back of my mind, but it wasn't really the main thing for me. It was just kind of, for me, it was in that weekend, I said I'm not going to put pressure on myself to kind of think it's now or never. I wanted to win it, but I wasn't putting a major pressure on myself because, sometimes when you do that, then you kind of want it too much and it can affect your game. So, but when she told me I did get the card, I was absolutely delighted now.
And I guess at that point as well, you've got your card. You came back for the Challenge Tour a couple of weeks later, so you know that this was going to be your last chance to play on that for a little while. You get a title there as well, and of course the performances you got, you get that call up to play on the Pro Tour. How are you feeling heading to Coventry for that?
Yeah, I went to play in the Challenge Tour just to try to get into the Winter Series, because I knew if I got up the rankings and I got high enough now, I'd have an alright chance of getting in and having a shot at the last few Pro Tours. So coming up to that, I was playing well. I was happy. I got the email saying I was in, so I was already kind of having my preparation for that, just in case I did get the call up. So when I did, I was feeling ready when I went over there. I enjoyed my few days of that. I think I played pretty well, so I was happy the account I made for myself, and I'm going to be ready for next year.
Yeah, he definitely did. I mean, you only ended up playing 5 of the events of the Players' Championships, but you still finished in the top 20 of the overall averages for the season. So how did you reflect on those 5 days? Are you pleased with how you've settled into the life potentially going forward on that Pro Tour?
Yeah, it was a massive experience for me to play on that, because it was kind of a free shot for me, because I wasn't kind of defending anything. It wasn't a big deal if I made 0 or if I got loads of money on the rank. So I just kind of took it as a free shot, and I enjoyed it. I took all the experience on board, and just for next year now, so I can go in and start properly from the start, because it's not one of them things where it's going to be my first time nerves or you don't know what it's about. I know what it's about now, and I think next year I can start a lot better.
Well, let's circle back then to next week, and you're going to be up against Jeff Smith on the opening night of the World Championship, a game which a lot of people are looking forward to watching after the draw came out. How much are you looking forward to another crack at the World Championship?
Yeah, it's for last year playing it, it was a really good experience, but this year I know what it's about. I'm really excited, really looking forward to it, because Jeff is a tough game, but I know it's going to be a really, really good game between us both, so I'm really looking forward to that fact, and just have another shot up on an iconic stage. It's not many people get the chance to kind of go up there twice in that, so I'm going to go up and kind of make the most for myself.
Lastly, as I mentioned, still only 18, you turn into 2021, you'll have played in 2 senior world championships. You're going to be playing on the main tour next year as a tour card holder. Do you have to pinch yourself sometimes to see how far you've progressed so quickly?
Yeah, it's a bit crazy, alright. The kind of progression was really, really rapid, but I think I worked hard enough to get here, so I'm happy to be where I am. Maybe didn't think I'd be playing the World Championship twice already, but I'll definitely take it. I put the effort in, and I got me rewards. But even to be on the tour next year, it's amazing, because it's everything you want to be a professional dart player. So I'm going to just put in the effort for the next 2 years, and I'm going to try to keep my card and be in the top 64 after 2 years. That's my goal, and just to keep progressing onwards after that.
Well, fingers crossed for that, and Keane, congratulations again on winning your tour card. Wish you all the best for next year and the next couple of years on the tour, and of course the World Championship coming up next week, and thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thanks again to Keane for joining us. Now let's chat about our sponsors at Low Six, who of course present this show. We appreciate their support, and the World Championship nearly here. We're going to be running a few competitions, few contests during the tournament for you guys to get involved with, win some cash prizes, go against us. Of course, we'll be making our picks as well, see if you can do better than us. And we're going to have a contest for the first few days of the tournament. We're looking to do the first round games for the first 3 sessions, so 9 games in total to pick from. We'll pick the first 3 games on the show here, and the opening game of the tournament, it is going to be Steve West against our next guest coming up in a moment's time, Amit Gilitwala. How do you see the first game going?
I think since we've started, since Low Six has sponsored us and we started making our picks, I don't think I've ever tipped someone that we had on that show that week to win a match. It's something that we've joked off air after I noticed it probably about a month ago now. And I have 3 opportunities this time around to end that streak and finally pick someone who's on our show, who's taken time out of their busy schedule to come on, only for me to say, oh, they're not going to win. And you guys know my picks by now. At least half the time I'm wrong. So it's not necessarily bad for them that I end up picking against them. So I'm going to keep the streak going at least through this match. I'm going to go Steve West win it. I'll say 3-1 so that my perfect record of always picking against our guest continues. That said, Amit, if you are listening, this is probably good news for you that I'm picking against you because it at least gives you a 51% chance of winning the match.
His chances are going to improve a little bit more because both of us are going to be picking against him, because if both of us are predicting something, then usually that means it definitely won't happen. So like you, I'm going to go with Steve West, the more established name, to kick off the World Championship with a win and come back and play Peter Wright in the final game of the session. And Steve West, it was only a month or so ago, he was 3 games away from retiring, and we might not have even seen him in this World Championship. We'd be talking about the reigning European champion not even being in the field, because he said if he won the European Championship that weekend, he would retire straight away. Well, he lost out to Peter Wright. He stopped him from retiring. He could get some revenge on him later on in the evening, and he will get a chance, I think. So I'm going to go with Steve West to get that one as well. Second game up then, let's see if you can keep the streak going. We've got another guest on the show this week, Steve Beaton, the record breaker, going up against Diogo Portello. How do you see this game going?
Diogo's first time in the World Championships, which I don't know if you remember the match. I don't know if I remember the match. I think we both had quite a bit to drink, but there we watched Peter Wright take on Diogo Portello. We saw that classic check out of 52, miss 20, double 16 to win the sets. I think that was to level, or was that to stay in the match? But either way, to win the set. But Peter Wright did get over the line 3-1. Following year, Diogo Portello came within a set. He went all the way against Ron Muhlenkamp before going out 3-2. Seemed like he was getting one better, but last year, Diogo got whitewashed by Josh Payne. But therein lies the madness behind Diogo Portello. He needs to make sure that over his first 6 appearances in the World Championship, he has 6 different score lines. He has the 3-0, 3-1, and 3-2 defeat. Now he'll need to get those 3 victories. I don't know if this will be the 3-0, 3-1, or 3-2 win, but he will keep that going, having a different score line in each World Championship match. So I'm going to go Portello to beat the 30-time participant in the World Champion, the former World Champion, Steve Beaton.
Well, I'm going to back our guest on this second game, and I did have down here as well that we saw his Ali Pali debut, and I was trying to work out each time they went off and came back on after each break. Peter Wright had a different shirt on, and if I was just seeing things, but he did confirm afterwards that he was raising some money for charity, so he was changing his shirts after each session. Nowadays, of course, he changes his darts every session, it seems like. But yeah, I'm going to go with Steve Beaton on this one. I just think experience is going to win the day, and you heard from him earlier, he's struggled this year. It's been one of his difficult years that he's had on the tour, and he's been around for a very long time. He's qualified for this via the Pro Tour, first time that he's missed out on the seeds for a long time, but could work in his favour, because if he'd have ended up being the 32nd, 31st seed, it could have been a potential game with Michael van Gerwen or Peter Wright or someone like that. So he's come into a different section of the draw this time round, and I think he will get the win on this occasion and maybe have a good run like he did last year, getting to the last 16, who knows. But I'm going to go with Steve Beaton. And our third game then, Jeff Smith against another one of our guests this week, Keane Barry, in the first round. How do you see this game going?
Yeah, you've got to feel a bit for Jeff Smith because he came out firing this year in his first year back on tour. But then obviously with the COVID break, it really put a halt to his progression. And it capped off just a couple weeks ago with him having to pull out of the Players' Championship final instead of traveling over due to the various restrictions on travel. That said, he's still here as the number 9 qualifier through the Pro Tour Order of Merit. And that's, starting from 0 at the start of the year. And I think if he had a full season, he would have done even better. Keane Barry is a very talented player. And that's why he got in through the development tour. It's why he is someone to look out for next year and for the next couple of decades. But I think Jeff Smith just has that little bit more class right now. And Jeff Smith, of course, has that more experience, only being a world finalist, world semifinalist as well over in the BDO. So I'm going to go for the Canadian to get it done and to make it sure that my streak of picking against our guest continues at least through this week.
Well, I think you could be forgiven for this one because it is one of the hardest games, I think, to call in the first round. And I've seen a few people on Twitter, on social media, saying that the winner of this game could potentially go quite far, maybe even get to a last 16, maybe even a quarter final, because these two are quality players, and just how the draws panned out, they will go up against each other. We will lose one of these players on the opening night of the tournament, and yeah, I can see it going either way. I will go the other direction though to be different, and I can see Keane Barry winning this game because he's still only 18 years of age. He's achieved so much already. He's won a lot of the big youth titles. He's ticked them all off. He's now, of course, going to be on the Pro Tour next year. He's got that tour card, and this is his second senior World Championship appearance, and he's only 18. It's brilliant to see these young players coming through, and he is going to be one for the future. Maybe his future could be a deep run in this World Championship, who knows, but I'm going to go with Keane Barry to get the win. You guys get involved with the picks as well. Download the Low6 app, 18 plus, UK residents only, T&Cs apply. Please gamble responsibly, begambleaware.org, and get involved in our contest next week. See if you can do better than us and maybe even win a little bit of money yourself. So good luck if you're playing along. And now let's get into our final guest on our World Championship preview show. It is with the Indian representative in this year's World Championship, Amit Gilitwala. I'm pleased to say I'm joined by the Indian representative for the PDC World Championship this year, Amit Guiliwala. Thank you very much for the time. How are you doing?
I'm very good. It was my pleasure to be a part of it.
Pleasure to have you on, and we're talking a little over a week before the World Championship gets underway. You're going to be making your debut in the tournament. How are you feeling just 8 days to go before you're at Ali Pali?
As a dart player, opportunity, and finally the time has came. And I'm feeling a bit excited about my first game, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, we'll come back to the World Championship a bit later, but I want to go back to the start for you in darts. Where did the interest in darts come from originally?
I was doing my school in India. At that time, our school has introduced a darts game for the very first time in 2009. So I went to the demonstration, and from that I got selected for the district darts championship, where I got my first position. From that I got selected for the further tournaments like the state championship and the national championship. Slowly I started playing with the good players. I have started practicing very well against them. I have performed in the local tournaments. By then I have developed the darts like that, and that keeps me more focused on the darts along with the studies at that time.
2011, at the age of just 15, you win the Indian National Championships. How special a moment was that for you to win a title in your home country like that, and at such a young age too?
Yes, at that time I was 15 when I won my first national darts championship title at Kolkata. I have been regaining champions in the youth category before, but I have started playing in the men's category from 2010 onwards, and it was more experienced players playing on that tournament, and it was a very, very tough for me to win, but somehow I keep my focus on dartboard. I have practiced a lot at that time, so I think that gave me a momentum to win at that time. And at that time I was the youngest national darts champion in India, and from that I carried that momentum with me, and I have improved a lot after that, which gave me a good experience and all that.
Well, fast forward a few years then, 2014, and we've seen your name now appear in PDC events. You make your debut in the World Youth Championship, also the World Cup in the PDC as well. What was it like playing the World Cup and on that big stage for the first time?
Oh yes, in the PDC World Youth Championship, I got selected from the Chennai qualifier, which is going to took place in Chennai. I got selected from there for the World Youth Championship, and I have played that in the Reading, the World Youth Championship. It was a very wonderful experience for me to playing against some of the young pros here in the UK. And obviously, in 2014, the World Cup of Darts in Germany, I was played for the very first time on that stage, which has given me a good exposure. And I was a bit nervous at that time because I was playing against the big crowd onto the stage for the very first time. But it was a very wonderful experience for me as a dart player to play onto that stage. So it's really good experience for me.
Now you live here in the UK, in Preston, I believe. When did that move happen, and what was the reason behind moving yourself away from home and over here in England?
Yes, in 2018, I have decided to move in the UK for the 6 months as a visitor purposes. That was a great support from my family, especially to my father, who have put such an amount of money on me to go to the UK. In fact, I have stayed here for 6 months. In 2018, I have participated in Hughes School along with the PDC Challenge Tour and PDC Development Tour, and those 6 months have given me a really good experience and exposure in the darts. And later on in 2019, I have decided to study here in the UK my master's, which is at Liverpool University. So for the darts, I have choose UK for the study purposes so that I can improve and play more darts with the pros.
And with the darts as well, you've joined the Lancashire Super League. You've been playing in local events as well more recently around the Preston area. How much has that helped improve your game?
Yes, it's really a very good opportunity for me to be a part of Preston Super League. I have joined them on 2020, where we have 8 good teams around, and I'm playing for Preston. So we have a tournament once in a month where we have to travel the nearest city, like Stockport, Fulham and Blackpool, something like that. So it's really helped me with my game, because as a part of the Preston team, I got opportunity to play against pro players like Wes Newton, Andy Bolton, all of those pros players, which give me a competitive edge in this game, so I can improve a bit further.
Excellent. Well, let's get back to the World Championship there, and it was only less than 2 weeks ago when we're talking that the PDC revealed that you would be the Indian representative as the Indian Darts Federation #1. What was your reaction when you found out the news?
Yeah, I was quite happy to look into my name into it, and obviously Indian Darts Federation is a non-biased organization which has been sending players to all the tournaments from last few years, and unfortunately this year the Indian Darts Federation couldn't able to hold qualifier for the World Championship due to the COVID pandemic. So they have decided to choose a player from according to the Indian Darts Federation merit, considering the last 5 years. So I stood at first position on that ranking. So according to that, I got selected for the PDC World Darts Championship. So I was really excited, and I was really happy to see my name into the name of World.
The last couple of years, we've seen your World Cup partner from 2014, Nitin Kumar, flying the flag for India at Ali Pali. How much interest has his appearances in the World Championship gained for darts back home in India?
Yes, Nitin has been representing India from last 2 years in the Ali Pali World Darts Championship. He's a decent player, and he has inspired the young talents of India to. He has shown some of the ways of young talent of India to get it into the darts and play as much as they can. So into this, the darts really been growing in India at the moment.
Sure, like us, you were glued to the TV last week for the draw, and when your name got pulled out with Steve West and in Peter Wright's second round possible opponents, did you know that would mean that you'd be first up in the tournament?
Oh yes, I have seen my draws, and I was quite surprised to see the draw, and it's like I'm playing against the Steve West, who is well named in the PDC, and he's most experienced player in the PDC. But I'm really looking forward to play against him in the first round, and winner of that will play against Peter Wright, a very big name in darts, and in fact he is the defending world champion. So I'm really looking forward to all those opportunities which I'm having this year, and I hope I can perform better against those guys, and which gives me exposure and more experience so that I can build my game further.
And as you mentioned there, Steve West, an established name in the PDC, will obviously go in as the favourite for the game. But what would it mean for you to get that win and then play the reigning world champion Peter Wright? Have you allowed yourself to think that far ahead yet?
Oh yes. To be honest, I have just need to focus on the dartboard. So I am always wanted to play with the player who is better than me. So that is been always the case in my life in the darts. Which if we play against a good player, then we are 100% improving our own game. And I think playing against the Steve West and winning against him, it's like really a big opportunity in my darts career, which I'm really looking forward to it. So I can have a chance to play against the defending world champion, which is a Peter Wright. So I'm really excited for it at the moment.
Well, here in the UK, of course, we've just come out of the second lockdown only a few days ago. How has that impacted your practice and preparation for the World Championship? Can you practice with any other people now or away from home? How's that all looking at the moment?
Yes, due to lockdown, in fact, our Super League conducted online darts matches. So I have participated in the online darts championship, which is going on. The few weeks later. those online matches, and I really enjoy playing at online matches. And at the moment, I'm practicing on my own, so I'm not playing against any player at the moment. I'm just trying to focus on the dartboard, and I'm just practicing at my own at the moment.
Lastly, before we let you go, going forward after the World Championship, what are your plans really for 2021? Have you got any plans yet? Could we see you back at Q School on the Challenge Tour? What have you got lined up?
Of course, once I get participated in the World Darts Championship, positivity and momentum is with me, which pushed me towards the participate in the PDC Q School. So I am also looking forward to participate in the PDC Q Schools, so that by playing into the Q School, I also got an opportunity to play the PDC Challenge Tour. So yes, I'm going to play PDC Q School and PDC Challenge Tour in the next year, 2020-21.
Excellent. Well, Amit, really appreciate your time and wish you all the best for your World Championship debut next week and for Q School and the Challenge Tour and everything that comes your way next year.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure for me to be a part of it, and thank you for your warm wishes.
Thanks again to Amit for joining us. Now we're going to get into one listener question before we make our predictions for the PDC World Championship, who we think is going to win, and we'll also give out a dark horse as well. But our listener question this week comes from Robert Laycock, who says, which international qualifier do you think will get the furthest, and how many seeds do you think we'll lose in round 2?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with someone that I've been bigging on this show for some time, and that's Boris Kursmar. Okay, Ron Muhlenkamp did a great job to get into the field in the Winter Series, but he hasn't had the best of years. Boris, though, has just been going from strength to strength over the last 6 months. It took him some time to find his feet, but if he found his feet at the beginning of the year, he wouldn't be an international qualifier. He would have qualified by Wright fairly comfortably. He still nearly did anyway. And you saw him in that first match on stage against Michael Smith in the Players' Championship final. No idea how he lost that. I think he's the seed to look out for here, and I think he has a favorable draw, not just that first match, but then against Vincent van der Voort in the second round. He has every chance to get through to the last 32, and who knows who he'll be going against. There will be no pressure on him. There'll be a lot of pressure on Nathan Aspinall, who'll be defending semi-finalist money. And we haven't yet had to see Nathan Aspinall really defend anything. I think this is a big opportunity for him. So he's the international qualifier who I'm tipping to go the furthest. How many seeds to go out? I think the seeds are going to do better than normal this year. I'm not, just based on the way it's all panned out, the international qualifiers don't have as much experience as they've had in prior years, and neither do the Pro Tour players because of the shortened season. We only had four Euro Tour events. So for many of these players, they haven't even played on stage more than once or twice all year, while normally you'd expect they've played on stage 6, 7, 8 times by now. And that gives the seeds a huge advantage because they'll be more prepared for this. I'll say 9 seeds go out. That's the number I'm going to go with. Love to be proven wrong, but I just think the seeds have a bit of an advantage this year, and it'll play out over the course of the next couple weeks.
That's a great point you make as well about the lack of Euro Tour this year. Of course, we were due to have the 13 events. We ended up with only the 4 because of everything that's gone on and the World Series falling by the wayside as well. Put one of our questions of the week out at the start of this week. Who's going to win the most matches in the first round, the Pro Tour players or the international players? And 82% going with the Pro Tour. So there's a lot of faith in the Pro Tour at the moment. Last year, the gap was closed. It was 18-14 to the Pro Tour. Previous year, 22-10. And start of this year, you'd probably thought that gap's going to maybe close a little bit or be quite similar given the strength that we're seeing come from all the different tours that have been set up and the strength of darts around the world. But it has been a strange year. It's been an unusual year. Aside from the PDC, there's been a lot of darts that we've not been able to see go on. And you kind of think, is that going to play an impact in how these games go in the first round? And I certainly do. And I did have Boris down here on my bit of paper as a player to watch out for. A few other players that I did have as well, but they've got very difficult first round games. They're either going to lose in that first round or win that first round, get past the second round and get into the last 32. It's just going to be the way it goes, I think. But I did have the likes of Keane Barry, Matt Campbell, David Evans as well I had down here from the international qualifiers. So they're going to be ones I think to watch out for. As far as the seeds go, yeah, I think it's going to be kind of similar to last year. I think we had 8 seeds go last year. The previous year we had 13 and we had the likes of Adrian Lewis, Rob Cross fall early. Last year, of course, we had Rob Cross and Michael Smith go out early. So I think we will see a couple of big names fall early. We kind of get that every year now. Some players you think, yeah, they're going to definitely win, and they fall out early, or if we back them to win the tournament, that's usually what happens. They'll go out early. But yeah, I think like you, maybe 8 or 9 Cs that we see early, but I do think the majority will be coming back after Christmas to play the rest of the event.
And last question, time to make your predictions. Can you give us a dark horse, the 2 finalists, and I guess if you want, who you think might, end up lifting the trophy on the 3rd of January?
Well, long-time listeners of the show will know that this part of the show, you really need to be ignoring what I say and listening to yourself, Burton, because I had to listen back to our previous World Championship shows to see what our predictions were over the last few years. And got to be said, I've had an absolute nightmare in my end, because last year I had Michael Smith to be world champion. The previous year I had Daryl Gurney to be the world champion. So if you're playing someone in the first round or due to play someone in the second round, I'm happy to take any offers to predict them to win the tournament, so you can get through that game at least. But yourself, you've predicted a finalist each year. You've had Rob Cross, you've had Michael Smith, you've had last year Michael van Gerwen. You haven't predicted a winner aside from that Rob Cross one. So the last couple of years you've had a bit of a dry spell, but you've done a lot better than me. But I'll go with the same final that I did last year, because if I keep predicting it one year, it is going to happen. So I'm going to go with Michael Smith in the top half, Gerwyn Price in the bottom half. And like last year, I'm going to go with Michael Smith to go all the way and win that title. Will it happen because I predicted it? Probably not. And my dark horse, someone that you've predicted as a dark horse in the past as well, I'm going to go with someone that's got bigger odds, because I could go with someone that's maybe the 8th or 9th favourite, some people are touting, someone who I don't think will win the tournament, but I do think we're going to see him go deep in the tournament. I'm going to go with Ryan Searle, because I saw some good signs from him in the Grand Slam. Didn't get through the group, averaged, I think, just under a ton for the group stage. So was very unlucky not to get through that. If he gets through that first round game against Danny Lauby, Jeffrey Desvan, not been in the best of form. We saw him play an unbelievable game with Peter Wright 12 months ago in the World Championship. So he has got the potential, not playing well at the moment. So I think if Ryan Searle can get through the first round, I think he'll get through the next one. Kim Huybrechts, the Di Zhuang or Ian White for a place in the last 16, I think he'll fancy that as well. So Ryan Searle's going to be my dark horse.
Well, I mean, in some ways you can say that who I think is going to get through the top half of the draw in many ways is a dark horse in and of itself. But I think, assuming these two end up playing each other, I'm going to go the winner of Dave Chisnell against Dimitri Vandenberg to actually get through the top half of the draw. I'm not sure what Michael van Gerwen is going to go out. I don't know if the winner of that's going to knock out van Gerwen, or if he's going to go out earlier, maybe even to Lawrence Alagon in the second round. We'll see. There are people who can knock out van Gerwen. But I think the winner of Dave Chisnell and Dimitri Vandenberg, a potential 4th round match, is going to make the final. And I'll go Dimitri. I'll go Dimitri to lift his game. He always does in this venue, and get through to his first world final. From the bottom half of the draw, it's tough to pick against Gerwyn Price, even though I think you can say the bottom half of the draw is the more difficult, or the more deep half this time around. But I think all signs point to this being Gerwyn Price's year. So I'm going to go Gerwyn Price to get through the bottom half, and I'm going to go Gerwyn Price to lift the title, beating Dimitri Vandenberg, we'll say 7-4, to complete that hat trick of set play titles this year, or this season, I should say, since it technically won't be this year. Potential dark horses. How about Simon Whitlock? We are thinking of him as a dark horse, but he's been knocking on the door for the last few months in every event on Sky, usually beating Van Gerwen only to go out next round. Well, if he beats Van Gerwen here, that means he's the world champion, because he's on the opposite half of the draw. There's really no reason to believe he couldn't. He's been playing consistently enough and well enough to do it. This might just be that opportunity for the Wizard to become the world champion. He's a definite, not maybe as much of a dark horse as we would have said before the World Match Play, but still a dark horse because he's not getting the attention. Also, Jamie Hughes from the top half hasn't been the best of years for Jamie Hughes, but we know that he has the game to beat almost anyone. And he came out of nowhere to win a European Tour title, to qualify for the World Match Play a year and a half ago. Would be just like him, especially in this draw, to come out of nowhere and get a huge run. He has a favorable draw with a potential third round against Rob Cross or Dirk van Dijvenbode. And then the seeds being either Glenn Durant or Adrian Lewis, who both have a lot of question marks. A real opportunity for Jamie Hughes to go very deep in this tournament. and to do so under the radar. Those are my seed dark horses. As far as an unseeded dark horse, I'll throw one out. I'm picking Gerwin Price to win the World Championship, but he still has to get past Luke Woodhouse or Jamie Lewis, but especially Luke Woodhouse. It's been a bit of a struggle this year at times for Luke Woodhouse. It hasn't been as good as it was at the back end of last year, but he really announced himself on the World Championship stage here a year ago. What an opportunity to do it again, especially to get Gerwin Price first match. I'm going to go as him as my dark horse because if he gets through that match, he could go far. And it could be, just like it was a year ago, a breakthrough performance for him, even more so having to take out Gerwin Price. Granted, he did take out one of the top seeds. You might remember that a year ago. You just mentioned it not that long ago. But anything else for this week?
As always, got to say a big thank you to our guests for joining us so close to the World Championship, for taking out some of their time to have a chat with us. And thanks to everyone for listening. Should give a mention as well. We've got a sweepstake that's running during the World Championship. Special thank you to the guys over at Windmill. They've provided us with a set of one-off Mervyn King prototype darts that were part of their launch development. Of course, they put out their launch last week. So big thank you to the guys at Windmill. And if you want to get involved in that, of course, as we always ask you guys to do, hit retweet on our pin tweet. It will be this tweet saying about the new podcast, and add a comment, hashtag Dynamite Darts Content. And it's limited to 96 people. We've filled up a few spots already. We've said anyone who's involved in our Patreon or Ko-fi pages, we'll offer you a spot as the first people, and all the other spots available going to be available to anyone. So if you want to get involved in that, get in quick. If you're listening to this now, go and get in now. And I want to say as well, a big shout out as well to Martin Leake, who's involved in putting up the stages, the rigging for these PDC events. He's been running some competitions on Twitter, some raffles to raise money for children's charities, various different charities, and get some presents for underprivileged children during Christmas. So he's done a fantastic job, and we were very fortunate to win one of the raffles as well. But just want to give him a big shout out and say well done on all the brilliant work that you've done as well.
Yes, indeed. As we started off at the beginning of the show, thankfully it's finally time for the World Championships. I don't have anything else to add. It's been a tiring year, but at least we can put it to bed with maybe 3 in the bed. Nice 180 here and there, and just enjoy it. There's no more need to hang tight, at least after another few more days. You'll hang tight till then, and then you'll let loose. It's the World Championships.